Hey guys, tonight we're going to talk about how to find the volume of a rectangular prism. So before we get started, the volume, we need to define it. Volume is the amount of space that an object takes up, or the amount of something that we're putting into a three-dimensional object. So we could talk about how much liquid could fit into a glass, or we could simply talk about the size of a box, okay, as in its dimensions, how long it is, how wide it is, and how tall it is. So when we go to find the volume of a rectangular prism, we will start with a formula that you should be familiar with from 5th grade, and that's volume is equal to length times width times height. So our length being down here, our width being over here, and our height being up here. So for instance, with this problem, with this image, we could figure out the volume by recognizing that this shows us 6 units wide, or sorry, 6 units long, times 3 units wide, times 6 units high. And if I multiply all that together, then I should get 108 cubic units. Now, you may see similar problems that have just a slightly different terminology in the formula. And so you might see something where we use B, a capital B, to represent the area of the base of this three-dimensional object. So remember, when we were working with the area of a rectangle, we had area is equal to lowercase b, being the bottom, times height. Well, now we're going to use a capital B to represent the area of the base of a three-dimensional object. So the base would be this whole area down here, okay? All this area that's taken up at the bottom of our object. Okay, so that's your base, and we'd find that by multiplying length times width. Okay, so we could also then say that the volume is capital B, being the base or the area of the base, times the height. And remember that because B is simply length times width, then this formula and this formula are essentially the same. All right, so let's see if we can calculate the area of this first rectangular prism. Remember, we're going to start by writing our formula, so volume is equal to length times width times height. In that case, that means we're going to use 7 times 2 times 5. And I can begin working my way through this. I can see automatically, remember, that it doesn't matter the order that I multiply these in. So since I know off the top of my head 2 times 5 is really easy to do, it's going to give me 10, then I can do 7 times 10, which is 70. So my answer is 70 cubic centimeters. All right, let's try another slightly trickier one. This time I'm going to throw some fractions at you, so you're going to have to remember how to work with fractions, how to multiply and divide with fractions. And I know that you can do that. So the volume here is, again, length times width times height. In this problem, our length is 14/3. Our width is 3, or I'm going to call it 3/1. And our height is 12/7. All right, so to begin working through this, then I'm going to start simply and multiply 2 of my fractions together, and then multiply in the third one later on. All right, so I remember very easily that 3 times 12 is 36, so I'm going to go ahead and focus first on multiplying these 2 fractions together. And that's going to give me 36/7, because 3 times 12 is 36, 1 times 7 is 7. And that can now be multiplied by 14/3. Now 36 times 14, I don't think any of us would know off the top of our heads, so let's go ahead and multiply this out along the side. 6 times 4 is 24. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is going to give us 14. I'm going to put my placeholder in. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. And now I can add these together. And my answer up top is going to be 504. And on the bottom, 7 times 3 is 21. All right, so now 504 21st does not really make sense to us, most likely. So let's see if we can simplify this a little bit more to make it easier to understand. So we're going to simplify this fraction first by figuring out how many times does 21 go into 504. Because really, remember, this problem, this fraction is 504 divided by 21. So if I set that up, 504 divided by 21, well, I know 21 goes into 50 2 times. And 2 times 21 is 42. That's going to give me 8 left over. And I'm going to bring down that 4. And I know that 21 goes into 84 exactly 4 times. 4 times 21 then is 84. And that leaves me with no remainders. So this is actually going to simplify to 24. So my area, or my volume then is 24 cubic centimeters. And that is your answer. All right, now I'm going to throw a volume word problem at you. If GHMS wanted to put a swimming pool in with dimensions of 50 meters long, 2.5 meters deep, and 12.5 meters wide, what would be the exact volume of water needed to fill the swimming pool? So that means, then if we go ahead and draw this, okay, we've got 50 meters long. We want to have 12.5 meters wide, and it should go 2.5 meters deep. So imagine this swimming pool. My drawing is very imperfect, and I don't expect yours to be perfect either. Just do the best that you can. Now I can write my formula for the volume, which, again, same as always, is length times width times height. That means I need to have 50 times 12.5 times 2.5. Now, before I multiply, I'm going to go ahead and take my my mixed numbers here and turn them into improper fractions. So the volume is 50 times 25 halves times 5 halves. And since it's fairly simple and straightforward to do, I'm going to go ahead and multiply my two fractions together. 25 times 5, I know, is going to give me 125. So that'll be 125 fourths times 50 over 1. All right, now to multiply these across the top, I've got 125, which is the same thing as 100 plus 25. So if I need to multiply that by 50, well, then I know that 100 times 50 is 5,000. And I know that 25 times 50 is 1,250. So that should give me, all in all, 6,250. And that will all be over 4. All right, so for our last step, then we can do 6,250 divided by 4. So I'm going to break this down by recognizing this as 6,000. Whoop. There we go, 6,000 plus 200 plus 50. And 4 goes into 6,000 1,500 times. 4 goes into 250 50 times. And it goes into 50 12.5 times. So now I can go ahead and add this together, and I'm going to get 1,562.5. Or to keep it in fraction form, that would be 1,562.5. And this is going to be cubic, sorry, because we're talking 3 dimensions now, cubic meters. Alright, so now that you've got the basics down on your own, I want you to go ahead and try the back side of your notes paper that says your turn. When you are finished, raise your hand and you will be able to check your work.